communication in marriage or with partner, communicating with adult children and also our friends, right?
Yeah, and some questions you sent out about workplace, after you sent, those were actually gave me a lot to think about. Your questions were sort of like out of the box.
Yeah.
We all, when we talk about communication, we're only thinking about like you just said. Because I was thinking initially about with communication with partner, adult children, or even aging parents, and even siblings. When they are
that's
adults.
what you've been. Yeah, because you've been dealing with that, I guess, and then maybe
So yesterday, funny thing was, I was sitting when I saw your question. I was like, she's sort of thinking out of the box. Do we want to stay in the box or go out of the box? Because communication is so vast.
It is.
And
absolutely.
on the way, I was actually listening to this podcast as well, and it was just amazing. And then I had a communication with my daughter yesterday about communication, and she said, "Good, you're doing that." And I wish she was here to join me today. Maybe one of these days.
Yeah, we would love to. Yeah, I see her pictures. She is so pretty. I'm sure, like she takes after you.
Thank you. Yeah, she's very, what we call strong opinionated and good head on our shoulder, very balanced in that regard. And she said, what about implicit bias in communication? And I was like, can you expand on that?
Yeah, what is that?
I hear podcasts.
Are you talking counselor terms now?
What is this now? I mean, I know subconsciously we have certain opinions and how it plays into our communication. But when she said implicit bias and explicit biases, and I was like, okay, so I started kind of more looking into that, researching, and there were tons of articles and all those written, and I was like, whoa. So can you just give me, I don't have that much time to do a lot of research. Can you just sit 5-10 minutes and we can talk about it? And she was like, when we are communicating, it's our unconscious biases constant into the play of how we communicate with the other person, even with our partners. Like growing up, we grew up in a different environment, and then we meet this person, we like everything about this person, and we marry them or just become a long-term partner. And then when we are communicating, we like so many things about each other, but when we come to the communication lab, we're just sort of butting head or something we're just not agreeing to. So we just say, in our counseling, when I was getting trained, I mean, first thing was like communication, like, okay, that's always a problematic. That's why people come into counseling, because there's issues with communication. So, and then I remember in my class, I did take culture competency course, and it was very much into, how our biases come into the play. And we can have a biases even growing up in a certain family, right?
Yeah.
And so when you meet your partner, and then somehow when we are not agreeing, we don't really look into that. Why am I not able to think like that person? Why are we just still constantly disagreeing on that? We don't realize that we have this unconscious bias about certain things. Like, I like red, and why do you like blue? Just one of those things. Why is that? Why can't you can like red, but you should see that I like red, and you like me, so you should like red too. Right? So we fight over stuff like that, right, in our relationship. But don't ever visit the topic like, tell me, why do you like red? And let me think that, why do you like blue? Let's go deeper into that. But we never do that. We try to have the other person see my point of view. And we spend whole life trying to battle that. Right?
Or sometimes you get molded into what that person wants you to be or expects of you, and you mold yourself according to them, and then you forget yourself in the midst of it.
And that's why it so shows up in your life, that frustration, that simmering frustration, agitations, just like, maybe I should comply.
Right.
Like, I remember that for a few years when I was staying home with the children, and I said, no, I read this book called Surrendered Wife. I was like, I was sold. I was like, okay. Oh, yes, all good. That's what I want to be. I want to be stay home, take care of my family. This is just great. Like, why can't I be? Why do I have to achieve everything, you know? Yeah. This can be a bliss too. Yeah. But part of me unconsciously was not prepared to be that person, right? Mm-hmm. Because that's where growing up, I always think I wanted to be this and this and this and this. Yes, am I willing to compromise all that, right? Mm-hmm. So that surrendered wife worked for a while, but then that my own biases about my own self. Yeah. Right? That, hey, you wanted to be this person, but you're not. So that's why we have the communication with our own self, communications with our own biases.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because
I don't think we communicate with ourselves.
No, we don't. We're just
at least I don't.
Thinking.
We have dialogues with ourselves.
Yeah,
but we don't really sit and listen deep into what we think and what we
absolutely.
feel.
Yes, my own biases for me. Like my bias was like, no, I can be a good mother. No, I can be
I can stay at home.
I can stay home and I can really do this. This is good. But then my own bias, like, what the heck are you doing? You know? You're that strong woman who have so much to contribute to the world, and you know, what are you doing? This is not who you are. So that dialogue turned into that communication based on that biases. Yeah. So if we were to play out with our partner, we have to really see why that person likes the blue. Mm-hmm. You know, going into their bringing up. Yeah. Right? What a kind of communication style their family had. You know, did they really sit down? Like now I know this is a total different generation. We really sit down with our children and listen to them. But there was not time like that when parents sit down and
you have a conversation. I think like even when I was raised, because we were 3 girls, so my dad was pretty strict, and what he told went. There is no reason to argue. If he says, you can't go, I'm not going to sit there and argue with him. But with kids today, they go back and forth.
They want to know why.
Why? Like, why can't I do this? Or why can I do this, you know?
Yeah. So, that's a generational, how much we have moved and changed. And we are reading books about it. We are reading different opinions about it. And we're trying to find our own self in there, because over the years, we weaved into this 2 cultures.
Yes, absolutely. You know? 2 cultures and then 2 families, right? Like for me, I'm more of like a closed person. So I think for my husband, I give him kudos because he has to really get things out of me. And his family is where they'll sit and have an open conversation. Like they'll sit and have a dialogue. But I guess in my family, we didn't do that. So like it's been 16 years and I'm still working on the communication part. Yes. And then when you see that you have to do it with your children, I think that's when you're more motivated.
Inclined to do it.
Yeah, to have that conversation even with your partner, because now your kids are involved, you know.
Because they learn from what they see.
Yeah, so realizing that you need to make that change can be hard too. Not that you're wrong, but that, like you said, it's an implicit bias, right?
Yes.
That's the way I was raised. And to figure that out and then ding ding, like make that change, right? Like Oprah says, the aha moment, you know?
Yes,
and then to make that work towards that change.
Yes, so, it's just changing. Like I was, funny thing I might show you later on my WhatsApp. My sister, she has a newborn, and it was funny that the baby's only barely 40 days.
Oh, really?
And so she is talking to the little one, and the baby's trying to, make that gesture and trying to make the sound.
Right.
And when she making the sound, and my sister's saying, tell me more.
Oh, really?
And I was just so amazed with her, just that sentence, while the baby's trying to make the sound, and she's, how the baby mouth.
Yeah.
She's making with her baby. And at the end, in the recording, she put, tell me more. And I was just, this is the world. I remember during my training, they said, that's how we communicate with the children. tell me more.
Yeah.
And she's already starting with 40 days child.
Yeah.
And I'm just was so proud. And I was like, this is beautiful. Like how we have come a long way that, talking to the baby when the baby's in the womb, and then when the baby's out, you're already saying, tell me more. You can't even speak yet. So where is it going, right?
Yeah.
So we are developing this listening techniques, right? Even the baby, the validation.
Yes.
The validation has to start from very young age.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's sort of should continue to happen, because when we are validated as a young age, we find the voice.
Yeah.
Right? If we don't have a voice, we don't even know our own biases.
So expand more on what do you mean by validate? So when the child is saying something, you're like,
so
okay.
the baby's like I was telling, the baby's making sound. The baby,
Yeah.
So
you're
she's
like,
saying, "Tell me more."
Yeah.
So that's sort of a affirming the child, like, what
that
you're
I'm
saying
interested.
is,
Yeah.
it's important.
Yes.
Whatever you have to say is important, and whatever you're saying makes sense.
Right.
You have a voice, you have opinion, and I value it.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Right, I hear you.
Yeah.
Yes, I hear you. I listen to you. And I don't have to give you opinion. You are whatever you're saying. It's complete in its own self.
Yeah.
But nowadays, when everybody has an opinion,
Yes.
so we are always talking over each other. We're not really listening. We're just saying, "Let me wait this person. When does this person quiet down so I can say?" And sometimes we over talk.
Yeah.
So that's why when the baby is making sound, I mean, when the children are young and they're talking, and when they hurt themselves and we're telling them, "You are okay." Well, the child doesn't feel okay.
Yeah.
So then you let them speak.
Yeah.
Right? You're now saying, keep on crying, but you say, "Oh, I see that. You must be hurting."
Right.
Right? We don't want to give them the words hurting, but you let them speak the word.
Yeah.
Like, what's happening? Tell me what's happening. What do you feel? What do you feel? If they can't see it, then you can give them 2-3 different words to label it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like hurt, pain, itchy, achy, bleeding. So, just give them options so they can start knowing the words around it, right? And then later, then you could just say, if you feel something different, tell me more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is what needs to have, that validation. Whatever they experience, their feeling is important. And I think when I see couples, the challenge is that there's lack of validation.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Because what happens is, if the child never been heard, the child never been validated, and there was no empathy in the listening, right, which I'll expand on, and then they meet a partner very similar to what they grew up with, like they're not invalidation, and then some point or the other you'll just say, "I'm not even important." And then this person in your life start telling the same thing, then you feel incomplete, and then that what we call lack of self-esteem comes in, and all
shut
that
down.
is just shut down.
Yeah.
So I think that's where a lot of conflict starts simmering up. The conflict could be passive conflict. Doesn't have to be like you're like shouting at each other. One partner could be so submissive, so passive, but that's a conflict in itself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the validation, or if one partner is so much validated in the family and the other person is the invalidated, they cannot see that. When they get validated from the partner, it's like, "I never been validated.
Yeah.
What is this?
Yeah.
What is this feel like? This is different.
Yeah.
Why he or she is paying so much attention to me?
Yeah.
I don't want this much attention, because nobody ever empathetically listened to me.
Right.
So empathy is important in partnership. Very much important. Even in a child, we are very empathic with our children. But when we are in our couple relationship, I see that we miss it because we want to be right. We want to to have the last word. Same thing.
Yeah, we want to prove a point.
Like I tell my husband sometimes when he comes, I'm like, "Okay, you're leaving your work. you're leader at your work, but you're not leader at home, It's just like, why do you say that constantly? I said, it's very difficult to separate that sort of communication, where you have to tell your staff like how to function, what to do, but when you come home, you're equal, there's no
because he's the authority there, so then that authoritarian thing cannot come at home,
like,
right?
have you gotten done have you done this, have you done this, and I'm like, doesn't work like that here. Right? So you have 50, 60 people, you're looking over, and here it's just like you and me equal, and you said, there you can ask the same thing, but it has to word it differently. Right?
Yeah.
So you have to very, very much use those words where you're more empathic with the partner, like, okay, what we accomplished today, how was your day? Start with how was your day, and then go with when the partner is telling you, then you're just right there, like very much in tune, not like,
or not on your phone.
Not on your phone. Like, I really want to talk about that too.
Yes.
That's the,
I think that'll be our thing, right? Listening with full ears.
We're so good with the technology. We can express so much with our children, with our partner, with our friends, or even strangers. Comments we put for strangers. But when we see them in person, we have nothing to say. Right? Emojis have taken away emotions altogether.
Yeah, that's a very good
we
way
thinking
to
that
put
we're bringing up more emotions. No, we are actually becoming more callous to the emotions, because we're just saying, let's just put this one. Let me see which one looks better. Which one I had never used before. This one looks more appropriate. Let me see what others have put it in there. So I want to choose differently. Right?
That is true.
Like, I didn't know the other day was like, I asked somebody, I was like, what is this? And that's a hug emoji. I was like, oh wow, I didn't even know that. Right?
Yeah. I wish there was a dictionary. Is there a dictionary for these emojis?
Yes.
I always wish they would write down what that emoji is. So that would be
I think if you
something.
click on it, it kind of tells you what the emotion of that emoji is.
I've tried it. You have to show me that. Yes. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back after a short break. FM, we are in conversation with our dear friend Bhavna, and we're talking about communication, and we were just left at the active listening part, right? So
we were talking about active listening and be empathic with listening. So active listening is like we're listening. We're not really just hearing things. That's the difference between hear and listen, is that when we hear just what the words coming out, but we really have to sit down and dissect and understand the words, right? Like what they really, the emotions behind the words, because we sometimes don't cue into that, and that's why I can go in deep into that, like a body language. Like if I'm telling you something, I should be really looking in your eyes and just really looking at like what this person is trying to express.
Right.
Sometimes we're not good with words, but there's so much emotion sitting behind those words, and that can be projected through the body language.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes we're sitting like this, like we're closed in, right?
Yeah.
And then we're sitting with our knees kind of touching each other. So that's why I'm saying I need to be guarded. Like I'm not feeling safe here. And you would see that I'm doing in my work. I see that with children when they feel like they are very, with the trauma with children, I see that they're very guarded, they're very scared and protecting themselves. So I see that they really have their knees caved in and their feet kind of sticking out. So that. So that body language speaks, right? And when the person is talking too fast, they maybe have so much to say, and they're trying to just sort of put it all out there for you. And and I sometimes when I see that with my client, and I'm like, okay, we're not in a hurry. Take your time, but you're doing great. Right? I don't say talk slow, because they already been told so many things like don't do this. When I say talk slow, that means I'm commanding something, right? Rather than saying, we have enough time, keep on going. You take your time, no rush. Just saying that, it kind of slows them down, right? And I think we should do that with our children, or even with our partner, or even with our co-workers, and that happens a lot with work. I got 5 minutes. Tell me what you want, right? How are you when you have at work, we do that.
Yeah.
Like, you have 5 minutes of my attention.
Yeah.
I mean, I heard that word before.
Yeah.
You have 5 minutes of my attention. I
Right.
had that one boss who used to say that, like, you have 5 minutes. And it's still kind of, sometimes when I say that, his face comes out. I'm like, 5 minutes of my attention. But I have 20 minutes of words to say. So then I would just like try to gather my thoughts.
Yeah.
Like, how much can I say in 5 minutes? That would take 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, oh my God, I got only 3 minutes left. Oh, forget. Now I barely got 2. But by the way, I wanted to talk to you about this patient. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, we're done. Let's go. And then I was like, what did I do? Like, I didn't really get my voice in there, right? So there was no empathy. There was no active listening. Even in that 5 minutes of his attention, he's probably looking at his phone and trying to take care of other
emails
things
or whatever it is.
same time.
Right.
So I realized that we are really cutting short on time in this world, right? You feel like we need to accomplish so much
Yes.
that we are being disconnected from humans' emotions, right? Because we don't have time for that one-on-one conversations. Earlier in the break, you guys were sharing that how you guys
Yeah.
keep track of each
Yeah.
other every day, check
Right.
on each other. And I think that's so valuable. And we don't do that.
No.
And even people living in the same household don't
Yeah,
do that nowadays.
right.
Like couples both go to work, come home and
They're
take care
tired,
of children,
yeah.
and then they go to bed.
Yeah.
Some days like, oh, you never told me this. Oh,
Yeah.
really? I did not?
Yeah.
You know, there's moments like that because
Yeah.
you're so occupied and busy raising family, or work is taking too much out of you. So that's why we have to take set time aside as a family, as a partner, as a, like when I say if they have an extended family,
Yeah.
like I have some clients tell me like I call my parents every week. Like I have this thing like on Saturday I'm going to call my family, or I'm going to call my friends on Sunday. You know, I'm going to go to church or temple or mosque or Jamaat Khana. So so we do that. So. But when we say this active socialization, but are we really communicating during that socialization?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And socialization is like having fun. Like you guys said, you went to do the firework.
Right.
But I'm sure in between you were conversing, talking, and you queuing into each other's emotions.
Yes.
You're picking up on each other's body language. Oh, maybe she looks tired. You know, like my daughter's like, oh, Mom, when you get angry, your face tightens up. And I was like, first of all, when she says that, I didn't mind because it really made me feel like she validated me
Yeah.
by saying that she's paying attention. For me,
Attention. Yes.
she's paying
yeah.
attention.
She's
Right?
She's
I didn't get
She's
mad
looking
saying,
at your
oh,
face.
when you're angry, your face just like your lips goes in and your face tightens up. That's good.
Yeah.
At least she knows, right?
Yeah.
But I say my following thing, like, did that scare you? Did that scare you? Not anymore.
I've seen that like one too many times.
20 some years already, right? So we have to we have to cue into that, like what the other person is saying through their body language. And we miss that out in workplaces, we miss that out at our home. So with your partner, you have to say, okay, we have to take out this 20 minutes every day aside for just two of us to communicate. During that communication, we're not talking about how was your day, how was your work, how did the children do, how is that conversation with this and this relative or friend go. We're just going to talk about us. And there'll be dead silent. There'll be dead silence for some time, like, okay, what do we talk about?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So, like, how you been feeling? Like, and even if by saying that sentence, how you been feeling? And not saying you got 5 minutes. Right?
Yeah.
You have to say, like, you have open time. We have 20 minutes, 30 minutes, but we can really talk. And, I'm sure you guys have come, some days you were like, we talked for hours with our, partner. Like, what was happening at that time? I think it's very important to write that storyline, Like, what kind of conversation you had, how much you evolved in that time. So we evolve when we have conversations. you know, and that's when we grow. Right? We don't grow by just sending emoji and messages. We will not grow. Human interactions is the evolvement is only through conversations. Right?
Yeah.
So I think we need to create that. We have to set that tone with our children, like communication, sitting down and talking to them. Like, this is important. So they know, they value. Because we are raising children in technology and digital. We live in a digital world.
Absolutely.
And
and also I think it's a multitasking world, right?
Yes.
We where you don't value when you're just sitting and reading a book. Like for my kids, he has to have, like, he's reading a book but the music has to be on, or he's on his, like, playing on his iPad but the TV has to be on. I'm like, you're not even listening, so why do you need it? So then I go shut it off. But they can't do like one thing at a time, because that's a generation, right?
Yeah, so that means they will
you have
not,
to
they
slow
will not
them
be active
down.
listening.
Exactly. So
we have to training everybody be slowing down moment. Right?
But I think instead of, at least like for us, we are trying to make that change, but instead of slowing them down, we've caught up with them. Like, you know, when they're trying to talk to you, I catch myself like, oh, I told you this. I asked you. I'm like, why are you eating a candy? You just said yes. When did I say yes? Because I'm on the phone and he's trying to talk to me. So he got me at that right time. Or there are times when I'm talking about my 6-year-old because he's a handful, right? So he'll be like telling me things like this really fast, or like in an angry thing. And I'm like, you know, I've already lost it.
By that time.
So instead of listening, I'm yelling back, or my voice has already gone up, right? Because like, why are you eating that candy? And then, you know, I've learned that he's hungry, so now I need to find an alternative. As long as I give him an alternative, he's not going to go for the unhealthy snacks, right?
So I think that maybe can be changed by every morning. You could just say, hey, today I know. If you've seen that behavior, that pattern of behavior, then you could just say tomorrow, next day, you said, okay, I know you like candy. You had candy. Even though I didn't want you to have candy, you did have candy. But it's okay. It's fine.
Right.
Just validate that first, right? Even if you catch your children doing something wrong, validate that too.
Okay.
Right? Not saying you bad.
Yeah.
I'm saying, okay, it's fine. We're still here. The world didn't crash. We're here.
Yeah.
So let's say, you know, I know you like candy. So, you know, today we're just going to have candy at 4 o'clock. If you come bug me at 1 o'clock for candy when it's a lunchtime, we're not going to have a candy. Okay?
Yeah.
So you already set the tone. He comes at you not at 1 o'clock, he'll come at 2 o'clock. Let me try at 2:30 or 3 o'clock. No.
Remember, yes. Yeah.
We already have a time
for
4 o'clock. So he knows, he's waiting. You know, I remember we talked about the marshmallow example. Like, you know, if you wait patiently, you know, those kids learn. They are the one who will be actively listening. They will be more empathic in their tone. So that's the one we teaching our children how to be more patient. See, conversation, the communication is all about patience.
It's all
and that's
about
what we don't have.
No, we
nowadays,
don't have
right?
it. No. Because I feel like we're so addicted to those devices,
right?
You know, and then constant messaging or whatever it is, that your brain is not totally there wherever you are. And I guess that's the mindfulness part, right?
Yes. So that's earlier she was sharing that she has to, in the break, that has to put the emoji every time she sent the message, because she wants to set the tone that she's very nice and gentle and
she's not being harsh,
right?
Yes.
So see how we are evolving. Like we're thinking, even our messages, we have to be very empathetic, right?
Yeah.
So why can't we just sort of set the tone in day-to-day life like that?
Right.
But because that's her trait, her natural trait is to be very, very soothing, very empathetic with people.
Right.
So she's trying to say that through her messages too, right?
Yeah.
So we are becoming a technological people where we're disconnected to express our emotion in person.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So we think that we have to do that that's why the emojis came. And initially emojis were not there, right?
Not there.
Now they're there because we want to send that message.
Yeah.
but how much we are depending on it. Like now we are so quick. Whatever thought I have, I can just put it out there.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how it hurts people, right?
Yeah.
How people are so harsh in their words now. Whatever their thoughts are going through, there's no time to process. Now I can just put it out there on what are these different platforms, Snapchat or Instagram, and
TikTok,
right?
Facebook.
So we're putting all these messages and trying to get some attention right away.
Yeah.
And when people don't respond to that, we feel like, oh, this person didn't respond. Oh, this is not my friend anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Because they didn't respond to my emotions, which I put it out to the world. Right? And then we are expecting that reaction from the people. So we are becoming more of a reactive.
Yeah.
Right? We want to react, and we are expected to react. Like my boss said, 5 minutes, you got it.
Yeah.
Speak.
Yeah.
So we are reactive. We want to react. People expect us to react. So when you don't react, you're not my friend. Right? So this is the world. So when we think of something and we don't have time to process and we put it out, that's not good communication.
Yeah.
You have to take time to process. Like, if this is what goes out, when you write a book or article, you have to get like 10 times editing before it goes out.
Right.
That's how life should be like.
Yeah.
Right? That's why they say write a journal. I had one client, I told her to write, journal. She said, no, whatever comes to my mind, I write it. I was like, where do you write it? I write it on Insta. I write it on this platform, Snapchat. I mean, whatever. I write it on all these platforms where people see it. And I'm like, no, journaling is different. Journaling have you process. So, that takes long time. So that was hard for her to just sit and write
down your emotions.
All her emotions. And I said, you don't read it, bring it to me. That's too much work. But on the phone, I said, okay, can you put, in the phone you have notes. You can do it there. So I don't post it. That's the difference. So you can have it now. There's a journal actually app. You can have it in your phone and you can keep your journal in the phone.
Oh, interesting.
Right. So I said, okay, you can download the app and you can keep your journal in the phone because she doesn't want to spend time on writing. So that's why the kids' handwriting is going to be not as good anymore.
No.
So we all are moving away from that. So communication, there's definitely a huge gap now because of the digital communication, right? Because we are the process is gone, right? Everything is about the biases I was earlier talking about, right? Those are coming into play. We see something, this gender violence or discrimination based on culture, race, and so we see all that and we feel obligated to respond to those messages, right? We say, the world is not fair. Let me write my point of view. So we never get time to process. And we don't realize what I'm putting is based on my implicit or explicit biases, right? So we have to be aware of those things before I put my message there or put my opinion out there. And we're getting in trouble for that. Right? So process again. Whatever you have, we think, we have to write it down. Like sometimes we should write it down when we talk to our children. We think about it. I want to be a nice mom. Like, how should I talk to my child, right? So we really process in our mind. So whatever I say, I'm not going to hurt this child, little one. And when we communicate with our partner, we process. But nowadays, with the world, we are not doing that. There's no filters. There's no guards. Everything is
just open.
And that's a scary thing. And it's hurting people. And I'm very careful when I write something because I don't know how it's affecting the other person. Right? And then when you don't write it, and it's like, you're not active. You're not out there. You need to be more out there. Right? So I think there's whatever is happening in the world has a lot to do with how we communicate. With a stranger. So this past year have taught everybody a lot of things about after this George Floyd incidents happened and after this whole pandemic, how we blamed a certain culture and how different places, different violences are happening based on culture, race and gender.
And it's still happening.
It's still there.
Yes.
And then unfortunately we are throwing the poison through the words. We are putting it out there.
Yeah.
And when we write something and how it affects the people who read it.
Yeah.
Right? And we have to be careful. Right? We can create a war with words.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Words are very strong.
Yeah.
Right? So the communication is important. Like if you have something to share, be careful where is it coming from?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is it how you brought up? Is it where your implicit biases are? Or, are you being influenced by certain people?
Yeah.
All this comes in play.
Yeah.
Like when we putting some messages out to the world, there are like a lot of harsh words, there are a lot of podcasts I come across. There's so much negativity, so much hatred, so much blame in the world. But what is that through? Words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Words has to be chosen very carefully. Right? When I'm apologetic about something, have you heard like apologize like you mean it, right?
Yeah.
How you hear
Yeah.
that, like, do you really mean it?
Yeah.
Right? And it's okay to say, I don't mean it. Right? It's okay to say I don't mean it. But I'm saying it because I want you to feel better. It's okay. Even if I'm not being dishonest.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know? And we don't have to say words just to please the other person either. We have to just say that how much this person is hurting. Maybe that's what they really need.
Yeah.
Right? Being sincere about even being real, being authentic.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's what message we need to share with the next generation. Because they are hearing a lot of mixed messages. And they're confused. And that's why they'd rather be on the phone than listening to anything else.
Yeah.
And that's why you said he puts the TV on, and then he has his iPad there too. So kids are so used to hearing so many messages.
Yes, at
and
the
this
same
is how
time,
they
yeah,
like it.
yeah.
Because we are trained that way.
Yeah.
So active listening is not that, right? Active listening is just one-on-one communication.
And I think, I don't know, I mean, in the pandemic, they were on their computers, like schoolwork, even more than usual, right? So they're doing their classwork or whatever, but at the same time, they would have like something else in the background too. Because now no one's controlling. Generally, it would be paper and pen and you're focusing just on that. But now with your device, you have so many other options because you have the internet, which is the whole world at your hands, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's made it worse in a way.
Yes.
Right?
It's like click, 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 so much thing there. I can click this and this comes up, click.
Yeah.
So their the brain is like shuffling.
Exactly.
Like that.
Yeah.
So
then they're getting
why,
trained like that. So we have to find a way to slow them down.
The
right?
conversations around that is important.
Right.
What's really happening? Like what comes up for you when you do this much,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And they might not even be aware.
Yeah,
how
exactly.
Much is affecting them.
Subconsciously, yeah.
So first, slowing down moment.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why they say, playing outside helps.
Yes.
Going for a walk helps.
Yeah.
And when you're walking and then talking, like when you're talking, those conversations should not be heavy. We should be walking very mindfully, like looking at the nature, looking at the bird, and like I got my tree trimmed the other day, and then I found there was a little nest there. But luckily, unfortunately, the birds were not there already. I guess it was already gone. But finding the nest, and standing with with my family, and we were just talking, and that's like a slow down moment. Like we're just focusing on that nest and conversing. You think how old is it? Is it just did we mess something up for these birds, or just slowing down? Right. That's the moment of slow down. Right. And just one conversation at a time. And when we have the conversation, what's coming up for them, validating that part. So and that's what needs to happen. Right. And then when they're shuffling with the TV and iPad and just telling them we can't just say this is bad for you. That's not going to work.
It doesn't
right?
work.
No. Just say, okay, tell me why is important. What's happening? What do you think is happening that you need to have both on?
Yeah.
So he can also It's not you telling them.
Yeah.
It's him letting him come up with the words.
Right.
That why I need to have both on.
Yeah.
Right? We're done with the
Yeah.
time? Oh, wow.
That went by so fast, Bhawna.
Wow, this time is like really fast.
It was amazing. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
you're
Like the hour
welcome.
just literally
It flew.
flew by. Yes.
Yes, I didn't
Yes.
even realize. Like,
Yeah.
I still got a lot to cover. I was always going to talk about that sibling conversation and as a adult children and parent
Yeah.
conversation. Maybe we can.
Yeah,
We'll have to.
We'll have to
Yeah.
talk about the aging.
Yeah.
Aging. I wanted to really talk about aging and being a caretaker as an adult child.
Oh, that would
the
be really
communication
nice.
there.
Yeah.
And maybe a little bit adding the forgiveness.
Yeah.
Letting go in there. So let me do that next time. I really
That'd
wanted
be-
to do that in communication,
Yeah,
but
so
I
we
think
do
we
that.
need to do
Yeah,
that part
next time.
separate. Yeah.
Okay.